Hello. There's Rosalind. Hi, Rosalind. Hello, Nilesh. Good morning, Hashim. So here we are going back through the Yoga Sutras. And tonight we are looking at Pranayama. And where have we gone in this journey? This time we're going through journeying. We've gone through all of chapter 1. What is yoga and practice and non-attachment and stabilizing and clearing the mind. Then chapter 2, we talked about minimizing gross colorings, then subtle thoughts, a big chunk on breaking the alliance with karma. And then we start into the 8 rungs. And it leads us here. We've gone through yamas and niyamas, and then asana. And now we're here on pranayama. Juicy stuff. Wait a minute. Yoga. And there's Gurvinder. Hi, Gurvinder. Hello, Anjan. And yeah, that was a yoga from Raj. Perfectly stated. A yoga. And so there we go. Let's see. I'll take that out. And I'll put this in. And there we go. There is our page on Yoga Sutras. It's Sutras 49-53. Pranayama and breath control. And I have here with me a matri. Isn't that fun? Whoops. Where is she? There she is.
Half of it.
Half of a matri.
Like
well,
this.
now be careful.
That's
don't
good.
Pull that thing out.
That's better.
Like that. Well, all you have to do is lean over a little bit.
Yeah,
there you go.
But I like to keep my head, neck, and trunk
Sideways. Keep your head, neck, and trunk leaning. That's the principle.
Samprasnada.
Samprasnada. Anyway.
Hi, everyone. Is so much.
Hi, Eileen. Everyone is so much. What does that?
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone is so much.
Oh, hello, Swamiji and Ma. Hi, everyone is so much, says Eileen. I wonder what that means. Is so much.
We're curious what the rest of the sentence is.
It's like there's part of the sentence is missing. And there's Gurvinder with a hi.
Hi, Gurvinder.
Hi, Gurvinder.
Tum kaise ho?
Tum kaise ho? The 4th of the 8 rungs of yoga is pranayama, which is regulating the breath so as to make it slow and subtle. That's from Sutra 50. Leading to the experience of the steady flow of energy, prana, which is beyond or underneath exhalation, inhalation, and the transition between them, which is Sutra 51. The 3 pranayamas are exhalation, inhalation, and the transition between them, which is Sutra 50. However, and this is a real key to what Patanjali is telling us about pranayama, the 4th pranayama is that continuous prana which surpasses, is beyond or behind the others. Very important phrase to remember with this. The key to this pranayama of yoga, as in Yoga Sutras, is the 4th pranayama. The experience and repeated practice of this 4th pranayama thins the veil of karma, which usually clouds the inner light, allowing that to come shining through. Sutra 52. I don't want to dash through this section because it's really very important. But paradoxically, while I don't want to dash through it, there's not really much to be said here.
Otherwise, it sounds complicated.
Otherwise, yes, as Matri just said, otherwise it sounds very complicated. And pranayama is one excuse me, is one of those things that we human people, yogis, tend to end up making very, very complicated. So there are many, many practices that are done in the name of pranayama. And very often, I know this sounds terrible to say it, I don't mean it to be not nice, but very, very often, the core principle that we're talking about here simply gets not even mentioned. The fourth pranayama is not mentioned. Sushumna awakening is not even mentioned. It's just, here's one more physical technique to move the muscles of the body in a particular way. And I'm sorry to say this, but often that pranayama that's being taught in the world today, the arousal of the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response, the intentional arousal of the fight or flight response is often called, get ready for this, Kundalini awakening. And it's not. It leads to just a tremendous, tremendous confusion. And there is a simplicity to this. And it has to do with this phrase, fourth pranayama, and the phrase, now, here, Patanjali does not use this term. Swami Rama uses it throughout. It's in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika that talks about pranayama. It has to do with balancing left and right energy, balancing the Sushumna channel so that when Kundalini awakens, it's able to flow properly. To successfully practice and attain the full benefits of breath control and pranayama, it is necessary that it be built on the solid foundation of a steady and comfortable sitting posture. That was the last section. We have to have a steady sitting posture. If we're sitting comfortably and steady, which is what that says in those sutras, steady and comfortable, then this breathing part, the pranayama, comes naturally. These 8 rungs naturally will lead one into the other. Wait a minute. No idea where that came from. Just hi, everyone. Aha. Hi, everyone is so much. So we don't know where that came from, huh? Isn't that funny how things work like that? And there's Roseanne. Isn't it?
Isn't it?
Matri is practicing her southern talk.
Isn't it funny?
Hello, Roseanne. Anyway, so there we go.
Digestive.
Matri is on the couch doing digestive breathing. The experience and repeated practice of this fourth pranayama thins the veil of karma. This is from the sutra, which usually clouds the inner light, allowing that light to come shining through.
When we were talking last Sunday about nothing pops up in my mind.
Nothing pops up in my mind last Sunday.
When you do this practice, but naturally things will start to pop up in your mind.
Say that again, please.
Naturally things will start to pop up in your mind because you're working on this.
You thin the veil.
So if you do this while you sit comfortably, you don't really, that's what naturally starts to happen.
It naturally starts to happen. These things move in sequence.
Yay. Systematic.
And then beautifully, eloquently, pratyahara, the withdrawal of the senses, happens. And then you can concentrate the mind, even though there's all this other stuff coming from the unconscious.
Yeah.
To successfully practice and attain the full benefits of breath control and pranayama, it is necessary that it be built on the solid foundation of a steady and comfortable sitting postures. 46 for the previous block of sutras. Through these practices and the processes of pranayama, the mind acquires and develops the fitness, qualification, or capability for concentration, dharana, which is the 6th rung. So notice with some fascination, we'll see this when we scroll down a little bit more too. We will see that it actually literally says this. So if you do rung 4 well, which is the pranayama, what we're talking about here, according to Patanjali, if you do it well, it prepares you for rung 6. What happened to rung 5? We'll talk some more about that, but Poof, Matri just said. And there's a beauty to this. And if we do this, it's talked about here, we all can relatively easily notice this. Yeah. That if we do this kind of approach, this gentle approach with the pranayama, that we are prepared for concentration, dharana. And the beauty is that what happens is that the senses naturally come inward. When we get to that, we will talk about this again, but it bears repeating over and over and over again. Sage Vyasa, the major commentator fellow, sage, on the Yoga Sutras, points this out. He says it's like the queen bee and a bunch of worker bees. And wherever the queen bee flies, if she goes over here from this hive to that other hive, all of the worker bees will follow. This is the principle, that when the bee goes there, everything will follow. So when we do the pranayama, the way it's described here, when we do that, we are prepared for concentration. And so then we are really able to, for example, I'm just saying this, we are, for example, ready to put our attention in the space between in the heart, or put our attention on the nostrils, or put our attention in the eyebrow center, the Ajna chakra. And then what happens is, that is the queen bee. Then what happens to the senses and the karmendriyas, the jabbering, chattering, talking mind that's so troublesome? They do like the queen, when the queen bee moves, all the worker bees just follow along. And we have pratyahara. It's beautifully, I playfully said, magical. It's just a wonderful, wonderful, neat thing. Awesome. It's awesome. There's a subtlety here. Now, here's the actual sutras. Once the perfected posture has been achieved, the slowing or breaking of the force behind, that's a tough concept, we'll come back to it, and of unregulated movement of inhalation and exhalation is called breath control and expansion of prana, pranayama, which leads to the absence of the awareness of both. And this is the fourth of the 8 rungs. There is this word down here, vichinada. It's the slowing, softening, or breaking of the force behind. There's a very subtle point here that is often very much misinterpreted as being breath retention. Now, I'm going to do this in a particular kind of way, and I confess my sarcasm in doing this, but I mean it playfully. It's like often breath retention looks something like this. Get ready, here it comes. I take a deep breath and I hold my breath and I get blue in the face and my eyeballs pop out.
Doesn't sound very comfortable.
You see, I'm doing breath retention. And I confess my sarcasm. I'm trying to be playful with this. But this word here is difficult. And I offer, with appreciation, this notion of using the word breaking. I offer respect to Swami Veda, the Pandit Arya, who started using that word. And it's a beautiful word, but it takes thinking about it. It takes pondering on it. If you are driving your car down the road, imagine you're sitting behind the wheel of your car and you're driving down the road. You have, and let's presume it's an automatic transmission, so you don't have to shift gears. So there's no clutch in this story. All there is a gas pedal and there is a brake pedal. So notice the way people often drive. Maybe you've done this yourself. You're at a traffic light. The light turns green. What do? You take your foot off the gas and you put it on off the brake, and you put your foot on the gas pedal and you accelerate and you start going fast. And then in front of you comes another traffic light that turns red. And what do? You take your foot off the gas pedal and you put it on the brake pedal. And you stop. Right? So gas pedal goes like this, you go, you get going, okay, light changes, foot off of gas pedal, boom, on the brake pedal, and I slow down like this. There's another principle here. Think about this. Please think about this. You're driving along, your foot is on the gas pedal, and you're being very, very attentive to your driving. And you notice out there in front of you, 100 yards ahead of you, 100 meters ahead of you, way out there in front of you, you see that the traffic is starting to slow down. And instead of keeping your foot on the gas pedal, imagine you're in the car. Think about this. Instead of keeping your foot on the gas pedal and keeping it going and then getting closer and closer and closer, and then all of a sudden picking your foot off the gas pedal and putting it on the brake pedal so that you stop abruptly. You got that? Think about that. That instead of doing that, you're a good, healthy, good, safe driver, and you're seeing ahead what's in front of you ahead. And what you do, listen to this carefully, you very gently start to take your foot off the gas pedal. You are gently removing your foot from the gas pedal. And what does the car do? It automatically starts slowing down. So that then when you need the brake pedal, you just very gently put your foot on the brake pedal and the car stops very nicely. This word here, the vicheda, I know the concept because I learned it, I was taught it, and I do it. I know the concept. I'm terrible with the Sanskrit. And so anyway, here it is so you can see it again. There is the Sanskrit word. Slowing, softening, or breaking of the force behind. See that there? This is what you're doing with the gas pedal when you pull your foot gently off of the gas pedal. You are slowing, softening, or breaking, or reducing the force that you are putting into the gas pedal. Think about this. Literally, if you have to, sitting there where you are in your chair right now, play with your foot and pull your foot off the gas pedal. And notice your car starts to slow down. You're not taking your foot abruptly off of the gas pedal and jamming it onto the brake pedal. And then when it's time to go and you abruptly take your foot off the brake pedal and you put it on the gas pedal and you accelerate very quickly. It's very common, is it not, that you see people drive cars this way. Rojo's going ba-dump, 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 back and forth. I'll put this like this so you can see this animation. It's like we go gas pedal, brake pedal, gas pedal, brake pedal, gas pedal, brake pedal. It's easy to yes, lessening effort, allowing it to flow on its own, says Rosalind. That's the point. That's what we're trying to do. And this is called slowing, softening, or breaking of the force behind the gas pedal. So when you play with this, maybe play with this while you're listening to me talk right now. When you're sitting on the floor over there, Rojo, and you're doing your exhalation, just soften the exertion for a moment of the exhalation. Just soften the effort into the exhalation. And at the end of that, go ahead and inhale. The gas pedal on brings air in. And then at the end of that, you're going to exhale. But don't put so much exertion into the exhalation. It's you're softening, slowing, or breaking the force behind the exertion, the exhalation. Is that right, Rojo? And how does your mind feel when you do that?
Slows down, it's calmer.
Say it again, please.
Slows down is quieter.
It slows down. The mind slows down and becomes quieter. And that's what Rojo just said. And that was a 30-second experiment. And so I beg of you, please, please play with this. You don't have to, if you want to memorize the Sanskrit word, that's fine. If you learn how to pronounce it properly, tell me. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but there's something to this. There really, really, really is something to this. This is the skill that we are trying to do. And it's like an artist's skill. There's an art form to it. An example of that I think of, just because I've watched it happen and I'm not able to do it myself, I've never tried it, I would love to try it someday, is a violin. Notice what happens. They hold the violin up here and then they take this thing here and they go very slowly and they move the thing across the string and it makes this beautiful, pure sound. And notice what happens with a professional violin player. When you and I do it, think of a child at home that wants to learn violin and you're listening. If you're a parent, you've had children that are learning musical instruments. The noise that comes out of these children is just ghastly, isn't it? It's not music at all. But what are they trying to do with that violin? They're trying to learn to go. So it goes, it's a continuous tone this way. And at the end, somehow, instead of it going brake pedal and coming back, at first it goes on this is violin sound. See, it's violin.
You woke me up.
I woke Ma up. See, I'm a terrible violin player, but that's the principle. But the real professional high chord but the violin player who plays with this a long time goes, and somehow they're able to turn it around completely, totally, smoothly, and you almost hear no transition between the sound going this way and the sound going this way, right? Isn't it amazing? That's the principle. This is what we're doing with breathing. It just becomes very...
Moving of the pause.
It's removing of the pause. You remove the pause. Everybody says, I learned Kumbhaka. I learned pranayama. I was taught to do ratios of breathing and I learned to hold my breath. One of the things Swami Rama has explained, if you're going to do, get ready for this comment. I can't prove it to you, but give it a try and run the experiment yourself. If you're going to do that kind of breath retention, here's the prerequisite. You first need to be able to do this. You need to be able to run your breath smoothly, the way that we're talking about, so that you can breathe where an exhalation is 60 seconds long. One exhalation is 60 seconds long, and one inhalation is 30 seconds long. It's 2-to-1 breathing. So one breath takes 90 seconds. And if you can get yourself so calm and so smooth and doing this breaking of the force behind the reduction of this exertion, if you can pull that off where it's comfortable to breathe at the rate of one breath every 90 seconds, then you are prepared to do breath retention. It's very hard to do. It's very hard to do. So the key to be able to even prepare to be able to do that kind of breath retention is first eliminate the pause. Anyway, so I'm going to turn me off a little bit here and go back to this so that we can look a little. I want you to see this word closely. And from that becomes the expansion of prana. It's not merely exhalation and inhalation and an abrupt transition. And here I tell this story about the car, if you want to come back and read it. Imagine you're driving a car and you quickly accelerate. Through slowing the process, there is an expansion of awareness of the entire field of prana, which is called pranayama. This fourth pranayama is the awareness of the prana itself. This sort of slowing, softening, or breaking is used in such foundation practices as breath awareness, diaphragmatic breathing, alternate nostril breathing, and 2-to-1 breathing. The entire science of breath and pranayama rests on this foundation. One of the most important aspects of regulating breath is the elimination of the pause between breaths. The question of intentional breath retention, kumbhaka, is a separate matter and is built on a solid foundation of well-regulated breathing. Just suddenly popping into my mind, years ago, somewhere in the window of 10 to 15 years ago, I don't even remember who this was, some well-intentioned woman who I think was a yoga teacher wanted me to understand more about pranayama, so bought me a book that was written by a modern American certified yoga teacher, and this book was on breath. And it had even a picture inside of the breath, inside of the book, and it showed on the graph line the inhalation, the exhalation. At the end, it showed a flat line breath retention. And it was talking about how this is proper yogic breathing. And it was completely wrong. And bless her heart, this lady who bought me this book so that I would learn from her about proper pranayama was simply not able to do this that we're talking about, and was not even able to hear it, because she was a believer in this American woman who was running a yoga teacher training program that was pretty well known in the United States. And this woman, I don't remember her name now, it sort of flits in my mind a little bit about it, but it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to trash her, but there's such bad information. It's not about retention. It's about eliminating the pause.
This is actually quite harmful.
And it can be quite harmful. It can have a negative effect on the health of your organs and of your nervous system. I'm not trying to play doctor and saying that Rojo can explain how that's not good. This deep calm that comes, what Rojo just said, her mind felt calm. This deep calm is called sandhya, Sanskrit word. Sandhya means the wedding of the sun and moon. It's a wedding of Ida and Pingala. From this place, the mind only wants to be quiet and calm, going inward to meditate with the opening of Sushumna. And I got some other pages here describing Ida and Pingala and balancing Ida and Pingala. We won't go through it here, but it's in this article series on Kundalini awakening. We have gone through this together a few times, and we'll go through it again. It's an attempt to describe this process. And here at this stage, you go here, here. Prana usually flows in the left or right, Ida or Pingala. What we do is we train it to flow, made to flow Ida and Pingala. And then from that, we have Sushumna awakening. And from that, I know this is brief, we're not trying to go through it. And then Kundalini energy is awakened. See, there's a little symbol down there. And then, I'm just going through this briefly so you can see it. We'll go through it again another time. Then the Kundalini awakenings happens and Kundalini rises. And then finally Kundalini arises to the crown chakra. This is how this deal works. And so here we are. That we just took a little visit there through the hyperlinks to look at that. At some point, the attention moves inward past the breath. Listen to that carefully. At some point, the attention moves inward past the breath. The senses turn inward, pratyahara, the last three of the 8 rungs of yoga, towards concentration, meditation, samadhi, the last 3 of the 8 rungs of yoga. When this absence of awareness of breath happens, it is as if one forgets that he is breathing. You got to let that sink in. It's not breath retention, is that you have moved beyond the breath. Matri is laying on the couch over there. I presume she's inside breathing or meditating or contemplating. Rojo is over there on the floor, relaxing, probably doing something similar. Huh?
Indeed.
Now I'm going to ask a question out loud. I'm going to say it to all of you, and then the two of them can answer me. I'm not trying to examine them or force a quiz, but I would bet that you have forgotten temporarily that you have feet. Yep, says Mom. Were you?
When you said they were back.
As soon as I said forgot your feet, attention went back and she remembered her feet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just before that, you were not thinking about your feet, were you?
Correct.
Rojo says no as well. That was a sneaky little trick that I just did to him. There's the process. As soon as I say feet, then you remember feet. But their attention naturally moved inward. And it is as if they forgot they had feet. The same thing will happen with the breath when we succeed in getting this pratyahara to occur the way that we're talking about it. When we succeed in that, it is as if one forgets that he or she is breathing. Now, if you recognize that you have forgotten you are breathing, what happens immediately?
You are aware that you're breathing.
You are once again aware you are breathing. You've just come back outward. The boundary line between external and internal has moved inward. You have literally moved in beyond the breath. And this is the nature of the real meaning of pranayama. This is, well, that's pratyahara too, but it's also pranayama. This is the point being made here. At some point, the attention moves inward, past the breath. If it didn't happen, we would not leave rung 4. Right?
Yeah.
Rung 3 is asana, and that includes feet. So what happened when you became aware of breath? You forget your body. You forget you have feet. And what about the relationship with the people in the world, with yamas, with ahimsa and satya and asteya and all that? Poof. When you succeed in coming inward and you're really absorbed in awareness of your body, it is as if you forget that you have a family, that you have coworkers, that you have a neighbor. You forget that you are a citizen of this or that country. All of the human beings, the 8 billion people in the world, all are now out there. You have forgotten about them completely. And so this is the process that we're doing when we're trying to get to samadhi. It is as if we forget that we have that level. And the boundary line between in there and out there and in here moves inward. It just progressively keeps doing that, moves inward, inward, inward. And so here at some point, the attention moves inward past the breath. The senses turn inward, called pratyahara, towards concentration, meditation, and samadhi. When we get into chapter 3, there's a point where Patanjali explains to us that there's a certain level where we realize that the lower level of samadhi is now an external event. Levels of samadhi, well, we already talked about that in the earlier sutras. In Sutra 17, we introduced that concept. Later on, when we get to chapter 3, we're going to see that we move through levels of samadhi to the point that some levels of samadhi are so lesser that you move beyond them, and the boundary line between external and internal is moved inward, so that those lower samadhis are external events, in the same way that for Matri and Rojo, their feet became external events. I know that because I said that story, and they both then acknowledged that until I said feet, they both forgot they had feet. And the same thing happens with the breath. When this absence of awareness of breath happens, it is as if one forgets he or she is breathing. Although it is not a mere forgetting when one is absent, it is not a mere forgetting like when one is absent-minded. Rather, it is a case of transcending breath awareness. See that point there? You are transcending breath awareness. This is what's supposed to happen. Somewhere in Swami Rama's books. I've extracted this somewhere. I don't remember where I've used it, borrowed it. But Swami Rama literally says this phrase. Now I'm trying to remember the exact words. The thought that you are not breathing, the feeling that you are not breathing is an encouraging sign of progress. If you don't understand this, then when all of a sudden you say, oh, I forgot that I was breathing, I'm going backwards in my process. There's a good chance you were just going forward. It would be like if Matri laying on the couch over here saying, oh, Swamiji, you reminded me I forgot I had feet. I'm going backwards in my practice. I need to maintain constant awareness of my feet. Well, if she's dedicated to being aware of her feet, she will never have samadhi. She must do pratyahara. She must do pranayama. She must do pratyahara, must move inward, must leave the feet behind. I hope this is making sense. And so we transcend the breath awareness. This is similar to awareness of body falling away when attention becomes absorbed in the breath. When your attention is absorbed in the breath and you're doing this breaking of the exhalation like I asked Rojo to do a few minutes ago, then what happens to awareness of the breath? It falls away. And when attention becomes absorbed in the body and the sitting posture, remember in the sitting posture, we went through that asana, it says, how do you get your posture steady? Allow your attention to expand to the infinite. And when you do that, what happens? The body becomes very, very still. The worldly awareness falls away when the body becomes absorbed in the body and the sitting posture. This really is a systematic process. In this systematic process, attention moves inward through all the levels of one's being. This is what we're talking about. And so it's subtle to even talk about. As I said when we started this a little while ago, there's not a lot said here in this pranayama section by Patanjali. So we say, I want some more books. Give me some complicated books that teaches me breathing practices. And what we need to do is practice the simple stuff that we're looking at here, but we have to get some degree of understanding it. What does it have to do with softening the exertion that we're putting into our exhalation and soften the exertion that we're putting into our inhalation? Soften, soften, soften. And it's called braking, like brakes on the car, except we're not standing on the brakes. We're simply reducing our energy going into the gas pedal, and the car will automatically slow down. Imagine if you're riding a bicycle and you're pedaling, you're just pedaling as hard as you can pedal. When you want to slow down, do you jam on the brakes? No, you stop pedaling. We all know this, don't we? You just stop pedaling and the bicycle will start to slow down. You're reducing the exertion. And gradually we come to see or experience the energy itself, the prana itself. All the levels of our being, I'm going to click on that just to see systematic process, attention move through all the levels. I don't remember what picture I put there. Let's go take a look. So here is levels, and it's our friendly circle chart there. And so from body to level, body, breath, levels of mind, and there's the center of consciousness. Familiar ground, huh? In the earlier sutras, 30 to 32 of chapter 1, 9 predictable obstacles and 4 ensuing companions were described, one of which was the irregularities of the breath. Recall this, that Sutra 30 listed some. Let's go take a look at that briefly. Remember, here are the predictable obstacles that are in obstacles in Sutra 30. Illness, negligence, misperceptions, dullness, laziness, failure, doubt, cravings, instability. Sound familiar? Sounds like life, doesn't it? And then what Patanjali says, this causes 4 other things. These are mental and physical pain, sadness, and frustration. People say, I'm depressed. Well, of course, it's part of the journey. Don't get bent out of shape. Keep going. And the last one he mentions is irregular breath. So there it is. It's just a reference using hyperlink technology to be able to look at this stuff like this. 9 predictable obstacles and 4 companions. And although one-pointedness was introduced as the antidote in Sutra 32, one of the finest of all one-pointedness there is ek. Ek tattva. There's the principle. To deal with those obstacles is to stay focused on one principle. Probably the finest one principle to stay aware of is the breath. One of the finest methods there is to stabilize and calm the mind is breath awareness. First, be aware of the transitions between the breaths. Allow them to be smooth without any abrupt transition and without pausing. Remove the pause. Consciously practice seeing how delicately smooth you can make the transitions. Allow the breath to be quiet and to have no jerkiness. I'm sitting here talking right now, and Rojo and Matri have both pretty much left me. I know they have not left. They're still here. But I know they're both still laying there doing while I'm talking. They're sitting there doing breath awareness. I know that. I'm watching them do it. And they've become very, very still. They've turned inward. This is how this works. And there is a core simplicity to it. But you have to be willing to do it like they are. Elongation of exhalation. Second, after establishing sound and steady awareness of the breath, allow the exhalation to gradually elongate, such as the amount of time spent exhaling is longer than the amount of time inhaling. The air will move outward more slowly with the exhalation than with inhalation. Gradually allow the ratio to be 2 to 1, where the exhalation is approximately twice as long as the inhalation. Pranayama is often translated as breath control. The root ayama actually means lengthening. Now, I'm just listening to what I was taught. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, don't have to be. It is control, but more importantly, the ayama part of the root is lengthening. Thus, pranayama more specifically means lengthening the life force, elongating the exhalation, not abruptly shortening the inhalation. There are other breathing practices that include rechika exhalation, puraka inhalation, and kumbhaka intentional holding of the breath. These practices are not the intent here in this sutra, particularly not the practice of breath retention. Note here, I don't know if I even say this here, but in this sutra, the word rechika, the word puraka, and the word kumbhaka are not even used. It's different words. Though these may be useful at some stage of practice, they are not the subject of this sutra in relation to stabilizing the mind and making it tranquil. That pranayama, Sutra 50, has 3 aspects: outward flow, inward flow, and the third, which is the absence of both during the transition between them. Notice when you inhale, between the inhalation and the exhalation, there is an infinitely small moment where there is neither inhalation or exhalation. That's the third pranayama. At the end of exhalation, just before the inhalation, there is a transition. Remember the story I was telling about the violin player? The bow goes across the strings and then at the end turns around and comes back very, very, very smoothly, not abruptly. And so there is the transition. So exhalation is followed by inhalation, but there's a transition there. Inhalation, there's a transition, and then comes exhalation. And so there's three aspects. There's exhalation, there's inhalation, and transition. Two kinds of transition, but they're both transition. You regulate these by place, time, and number, and by doing that, breath becomes slow and subtle. There's the external world, there's the internal word, and these three they are regulated. There's the word for regulated. They're made dirgha, sukshma, and subtle. Sukshma, long and subtle. You train these aspects of breath. Exhalation, training the exhalation, removing jerkiness, allowing the flow to be deep, as well as diaphragmatic. Inhalation, training the exhalation also means eliminating jerkiness, breathing slowly, and using the diaphragm. And then there's the transition. When the word stamba from the sutra is translated as suspension or retention, this can be taken to mean the intentional holding of the breath over some period of time, which is a practice called kumbhaka. However, it is not stamba that is used here. It is stamba that is used here, not kumbhaka. Between exhalation and inhalation, there is a transition when one is neither exhaling nor inhaling. Between inhalation and exhalation, there's also a transition when one is neither inhaling nor exhaling. The slowing or breaking of the breath is described in the last sutra. This gentle regulation and releasing of efforts is very important to understand the practice of all three aspects of breath: exhalation, inhalation, and transition. Place, the awareness of breath or flow of breath is intentionally focused on some location, such as the diaphragm, one or both nostrils, up and down the spine, throughout the whole body, or with the attention placed at one point, such as the navel, the heart, the eyebrow center, etc. So this is place. The different points of attention will bring different experiences and different depths of benefit. The timing of exhalation, inhalation, and transition are also consciously regulated. The pause between breaths is gently eliminated, or later in the case of kumbhaka practice might be intentionally lengthened. Exhalation, inhalation may be made of equal duration, or exhalation may be lengthened, such as 2-to-1. As the pauses are eliminated, the exhalations and inhalations might become quite slow, transcending the gross breath and bringing a great peace of mind, leading to concentration and meditation. One may count the number of seconds or heartbeats associated, causing the number to be the same for exhalation or inhalation. For example, one may initially count 6 seconds for each inhalation and exhalation, which is a total of 12 seconds per breath, or 5 breaths per minute. With 2-to-1 breathing, one might exhale 8 seconds and inhale 4 seconds, which is also 12 seconds per breath, or 5 breaths per minute. The counts may be made higher, allowing the breath to be longer. Another way of counting is by measuring the distance below the nostrils at which the flow of air can be felt with the hands or fingers. So, you can do like I do here. It's just a way of playing with this. You can do this like this and start like this, and you can feel the air. It's a way of playing with this. It's one of the ways of experimenting this. The further the distance can be felt, the quicker the breath. The less distance the air can be felt below the nostrils, the slower the breath. And once again, slow and subtle are the goals, but comfortably slow and subtle. If you try to do it too slow beyond your capacity, then all of a sudden you have to gasp for breath. You have to draw in quickly because you've exceeded your capacity. So never exceed your capacity. Gently, 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 gently. Posture, once again, is prerequisite. There's a diversity of views. We already talked about that. The fourth pranayama is that continuous prana which surpasses, is beyond, or behind those others that operate in the external and interior realms or field. The fourth pranayama is that continuous prana which is beyond. It's like waves in the ocean. Imagine that you're sitting at the ocean just where the waves come ashore. When a wave comes, it washes over you and runs up on the beach. Then the wave turns around and recedes over you, going back to the ocean. Then the current turns again and another wave washes over you. Over and over you experience this cycling process. This is like the breath, which exhales, transitions, inhales, transitions, and then starts the process again. Literally, think about that. Just lay on the edge of a beach where the waves come in and wash over you. It's a fun thing to do, and it's a beautiful metaphor for breathing. Imagine that you swam away from the shore some distance offshore, and you dove down to the bottom wearing a scuba tank. There you would sit at the bottom with no waves coming or going. You might feel a very gentle motion, but very slight. You are beyond or deeper than the surface motion of the waves. So it also is with the breath. And see, here's a little picture. It's not a beautiful graphic, but it kind of works. So here's a rising wave and a transition and a falling wave. It's rising and it's falling. It's rising and it's falling. And so a falling wave is equivalent to the exhalation of breath. And then right behind it, there's an inhalation of breath. It's a rising wave. Then the wave falls on an exhalation. And right in the middle, there's a transition. It's just, and here's the scuba diving metaphor. If you leave the surface of the water and dive down to the bottom, if you've ever done this, either scuba diving or just snorkel diving with fin and mask by an ocean, you can go down below the surface, and it's fascinating to look up and you can see the waves going by in front of you, out in front of your eyes like this. And that's what the breath is like. So we move beyond and we become, and as Patanjali says again, the fourth pranayama is that continuous prana, which is beyond. Note here, through that pranayama that we're talking about, the veil of karmashaya, which was a section we've already talked about, that section of Sutras 12-25, breaking the alliance with karma is what we call that section. And the field of karmashaya was introduced to us there. It's the field, it's the ground where all the samskaras are growing. And by doing this pranayama the way we're talking about, the veil that covers everything is thin, gradually diminishes, the veil diminishes, and gradually the veil vanishes. And now we are able to truly, comfortably, with vairagya and non-attachment, introspect the unconscious mind. Now, I don't know what they're doing right now, but it's possible that this is what Rojo and Matri are doing right now. I cannot tell from out here. If they have made their breath smooth in the way we're talking about, they might have gone inside of the breath and are sitting there right now just aware of what's going on in the karmashaya, in the field of the samskars. They may be doing that right now. I don't know. They may just be sleeping. I don't know. They know inside, or they don't know. They're inert or tamasic and they don't know. Or they may be laying there doing that. And they may actually be just totally ignoring me because I am so far out here that what they're doing is much more interesting than me out here babbling. And I like to think or hope that that's what they're doing. Results of the fourth pranayama. Through the experience of repeated practice of that fourth pranayama, the veil over karma shaya, which covers the inner illumination or light, is thin, diminishes, and gradually vanishes. The practice of pranayama and the repeated experiencing of the fourth pranayama is a most significant part of breaking the alliance of karma, which was introduced in the previous sutras. Here's this whole block of sutras talking about breaking the alliance of karma. And according to Patanjali, this that we're talking about here, with this aspect of pranayama, is the key. Here it is. Listen to this. Through these practices and the processes of pranayama, which is the fourth of the 8 steps, the mind acquires or develops the fitness, qualification, or capability for true concentration. And there is the word dharana. So becomes fit. The mind becomes fit for dharana. And note again, dharana is rung number 6. What happened to rung number 5? Pratyahara. It happens because this prepared us to be able to go actually into the mind field. And when we go into the mind field, into the karma shaya, when we do that, the senses come racing behind. So we say, I want to know a technique where I can, how do I turn off my senses out here? You do like this, and it just naturally pulls you inward. You just naturally go inward. That's the principle. The mind becomes fit for dharana. And that's the end of this block of sutras, okay? This is the section on pranayama. Attempting to take this journey tonight, attempting to talk about it in the language that Patanjali uses to describe pranayama of the Yoga Sutras. It's very gentle. It's very soft. And I don't know if I'm ever going to get Rojo and Matri back. Huh? Rojo her head just kind of rotated up and she said, huh? And her little beady little eyes opened up. And she smiled at me. And now Matri's feet are moving, barely. And she just said, huh? So you see, they're coming back. Isn't that cool? I'm getting them back now. That's kind of fun. Anyway, so they took a vacation into pranayama. And I would bet it was a nice journey. Was it a nice journey? Can you? She's not going to say anything more than just And this is what happens. And now this that Matri is doing right now is an example of what we've been talking about elsewhere, of coming from the plane of Tejasa, of the subtle, back out into Vaishnava, out here. And the Indriyas are switching back on, and now she's starting to use her vocal cords enough to be able to say, to me. And now she just shifted her legs a little bit, and her arms just shifted now. And now she's covering her.
I'm back.
Now did you hear that? She said, now I'm back. So she just came back out here. And now she's a full-blown Matri here. And she took a little journey there for a few minutes while you and I were having a conversation.
Did I miss that you were making hot chocolate?
Did she miss me making hot chocolate?
Oh, wait, that was in the afternoon.
That was in the afternoon that we had hot chocolate. We can have some more if you want. I will look again after. Yeah, but it's a good comment, Rosalind. I will look over again after class. I don't know about class. I don't think of this as class. It's just going through this stuff. But this is what we have to do. We have to take a look at it again and again and again. And remember the simplicity. I don't know, make it whatever color stream you want. You can make it blue or green or yellow, I don't care. What is the blue for? People report experiencing colors internally. You probably have experienced colorless inside. Anyway, I don't know what you're passing on, but anyway, so there we go. That's the game. Play with it. Watch through this again, go to the site and read this again. But most importantly, we all like to do what Rojo and Matri are doing right now. We all like to lay around on a couch or the floor, don't we? Or in bed like this. We like to do that. Everybody wants to meditate in bed. Do your meditation sitting up, head, neck, and trunk straight. There's something to it because otherwise you can just lose consciousness and fall asleep. But if you want to rest anyway, and you're going to lay down on the floor or on a couch with your head on a pillow and a blankie over you, it's here in the northern hemisphere, it's becoming wintertime, even here in Florida. And so it's cooler time. It's a nice time to curl up with a blanket over you. And I'm just saying, if you're going to do that, if you're already going to do it consciously and do this stuff with the breath. And allow yourself to soften the exhalation and inhalation, particularly the exhalation. Soften it, soften it, soften it. And that is, in effect, braking. It's like slowing down your bicycle or your car by reducing your foot pressure on the gas pedal. And the thing will naturally slow down. Do that. Play with it, play with it, play with it. And the experience itself is the teacher. That's the teacher. It's not any book. What?
Then it becomes pramana.
Yeah. Then it becomes real. Then it becomes pramana. So it's not what we're doing. This is nice. I mean, I hope. It's nice to come together. Satsang is nice, whether it's in person or doing this like this. I hope this is fun to hang out like this and do this. But what it really comes down to is not hanging out in this way or having a philosophical conversation or anything like that. It's what you do, and I'm saying this lightly and playfully, it's what you do on the couch. It's what you do sitting on your butt in a good head, neck, and trunk posture. That's important. Of course it's important.
Because it happens the same.
Huh?
The same thing happens. I added walking on the treadmill today. I lost that I was at the gym. I was walking with my eyes closed, holding the thing, and I was doing 2-1 breathing and forgot that I was in the gym.
And she was on the treadmill in the gym and she started doing this. I was on one of those machines there and started doing that. And what's the lady's name? Who's the trainer? Carlina. All of a sudden, she's right beside me and she touched me on the shoulder. She touched me on the shoulder. She said, Swami, are you all right?
You were taking a little nap?
Well, what she said, it looked like you were sleeping. I said, no, I was just taking a break. I didn't want to stop and tell her what I was doing. No. I said, no, let me explain pranayama to you.
He's the old man.
And yeah, it's just, but they like me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somehow she let the Raj, I think it was, leaked it out that I'm a monk.
No, it probably was Jamie.
Or Jamie, somebody did. Somebody leaked it, and so now they know that I'm a weird old man. I'm not just an old man, but I'm a weird old man. So I sit around in the exercise machines sleeping or something like that. Anyway, play with this. Play with it, play with it, play with it. Please, please. That's where the answers come. And it may include laying on your own couch with a blankie pulled up over you with your head on a nice squishy pillow. And so take the permission to play with this stuff in that kind of way. Break the rules that says I'm supposed to always be sitting erect and doing all this stuff. Yes, Gurvinder, right. Drive safely, breathe gently. Very good advice, Gurvinder.
Yeah.
Very good advice. Drive safely. Don't overuse the gas pedal. Notice with wisdom how easy it is to slow the car down by simply using less gas pedal. And it's practice for pranayama, but don't drive off the road. What, Mom?
And good for the environment.
And it's good for the environment.
You use less gas.
Yeah, use less gas. Anyway, so thank you all for playing. You're welcome, Hashim. Have a wonderful meditation. Now it's late night. Now you can go do some pranayama or some dhyana or some yoga nidra.
And have nice floods of thoughts.
And have lots of nice floods of thoughts that are not disturbing.
While the breath is calm.
While the breath is calm and smooth, and observe the transitions and gradually come to find the fourth pranayama. Allow the conviction to be inside of you that says, if it's saying something like, well, you're this fourth pranayama, I don't understand this. Allow yourself to have an inner conviction that says, okay, this is strange and weird and I don't understand it, but somehow I am going to understand this. I insist that I understand this fourth pranayama. And if I have to read a book, okay, read the book, read the sutras over and over and over and over and over and over again. But please, lay down on your couch or your favorite chair or the bed. Do anything but convince yourself that you will find the fourth pranayama if you have not already. Okay. Now she's going off to the kitchen. Maybe now we get hot chocolate or not.
You want that hot chocolate?
No, you're the one who brought it up. Anyway. So thank you all for playing. Bye-bye. See you. I guess the next time I'm on here like this with you is Friday, and then we're together Saturday. Anyway, over the coming days, we'll do it again. Thanks for playing. Let's let Raj's Om be the closing comment. Om. There we go. Bye-bye all. Here, I'll put the big thing on there so I can really say bye-bye. See, I've even got my topi on because it's feeling a little cooler. It's wintertime. Bye-bye. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. I pushed the button, but nothing happened. There we go. Om